Hello everyone, this is Jack and welcome to Training Talk episode number 1. So Training Talk is actually an initiative which I just started to actually share with you guys some of my fitness training tips, nutrition and anything that has got to do with training for obstacle course racing, ultra marathons and also basically just getting fit in general. So if you have any questions, do actually leave them in the comment section below and I'll try to answer them. I'll try to post a training talk, maybe 1 or 2 training talks every week, and we'll see how it goes from there. So here is the first episode of Training Talk. So for the first episode of this training talk, we're going to talk about one of the most neglected form of training for obstacle course racing. So when we talk about obstacle course racing, particularly Spartan Race in Singapore, the first thing that comes to people's mind is actually training to clear obstacles. So things like how to clear your monkey bar, how to clear your multi-rig, the rope climb, how to carry the atlas ball, so on and so forth. So the main reason for that is they don't want to do any burpees. So as you know, for Spartan Race, every field obstacles you have to perform 30 burpees, which is quite a lot of burpees to be honest, and increase your rate of fatigue, and then you just suffer more throughout the race. So yes, it is important to learn how to clear these obstacles, to develop the strength to clear these obstacles. However, if you look at Spartan Race in general, the shortest distance for the race is actually 6 to 8 kilometers, which is the sprint, and then it goes all the way up to 21 kilometers. So if you look at the time duration spent on the course itself, it's between 35 minutes for the elites during the sprint race, all the way to anywhere close to 8 hours for the beasts. 8 hours because it can be on a very hilly terrain like the one in Clinton, Vermont. I have actually a few friends who took about 8 hours or so to complete. So it is really a lot of moving, running, walking on the course. And if you look at the time spent on clearing obstacles, it is really maybe about 10 to 20% of the time spent on these obstacles. So other than learning how to clear these obstacles, being able to cover ground, being able to move without significant fatigue over long distance is really key to performing well and also boosting obstacle immunity during Spartan races. So when you are moving so long for these Spartan races, the primary energy system they'll be using is basically your aerobic energy system. So what this means is your body will be utilizing oxygen to produce energy, and if you don't have an efficient aerobic system, your body will drift to rely on the other energy system, which is your anaerobic energy system, which actually taps into your glycogen stores and also a little bit of your basically your glycogen stores. So this anaerobic system is not necessarily a bad thing because it helps to generate more power as compared to your aerobic system, but you are only able to store a certain amount of glycogen in your body, about 1,200 kilocalories to 1,600 kilocalories, which is not a lot as compared to oxygen, whereby you can just breathe in and then it gives you a continuous supply of energy. Therefore, you need to conserve it. Why you need to conserve these glycogen stores? Because this will help to produce enough energy to help you carry the atlas ball, to get up the rope, and so on and so forth. So if you don't have an efficient aerobic system, you'll tap into your anaerobic system very quickly at the onset of the race, and by the time you reach the more challenging obstacles, you won't have any energy left to clear these obstacles. Another thing about your anaerobic system is that other than being able to generate a lot of force, it produces a byproduct called lactic acid. So it releases a lot of hydrogen ions into the bloodstream, which actually can cause that this acidity can actually cause can actually hinders muscular contraction, and therefore you will find that you experience this feeling of soreness and also the inability to generate force. This is because this acidity in the muscles can actually hinder muscular contraction. Therefore, this is not a desired state that we want, and thus we shouldn't spend too much time in the anaerobic zone. However, being as we all know that we will have to enter the anaerobic zone because we have to lift some obstacles. We will enter the anaerobic zone because we will be carrying the atlas ball, the sandbag, for prolonged periods of time. It is inevitable that lactic acid will be a byproduct, and these hydrogen ions will be released into the bloodstream and cause acidity in the muscles. Therefore, having a developed aerobic system will actually help to recover from this state, in a sense that with a more efficient circulatory system, the body will be able to deliver oxygen and also help to decrease the acidity in the blood and muscles as soon as possible, getting you ready for the next bout of force generation using the anaerobic system. And therefore it is crucial to actually build up this anaerobic system to build out this aerobic system to help you to recover between these obstacles. So rather than the runs or the walk between obstacles making you more fatigued, causing you to be more fatigued, having a developed aerobic system actually helps you to recover between obstacles, and therefore increasing your chances of obstacle immunity. So this not only improves obstacle immunity for the beginner athletes trying out Spartan races, but this also helps the competitive and elite athletes who are competing in Spartan races. How so? Having a very developed aerobic system will actually raise your base aerobic pace, therefore allowing you to run at a faster pace while not accumulating too much fatigue or too much acidity in the blood and muscles, which allows you to successfully complete the obstacle and complete the race at a faster time. So as you can see, developing your aerobic system is actually beneficial to both beginners and advanced athletes alike. So next, you may ask how are we best going to go about developing this efficient aerobic system. Now, what I see for some people, how they train up towards the Spartan race is that they'll spend a lot of time, gaining strength and also, lifting heavy weights to get themselves to be able to clear obstacles. Yes, those are important, but many at times they are not doing enough runs, not accumulating enough mileage to develop this aerobic system effectively. So one of the key concepts for developing very efficient aerobic system is mileage. Having training sessions which are long, ranging from 30 minutes to maybe an hour or even 2 hours depending on your fitness level. Just sustaining a low to moderate intensity for that period of time. And that is pretty much the way to develop your aerobic system. Low intensity over a long period of time. Okay, so you won't want to do your runs at a high intensity pace because they will put you in the anaerobic zone, which is not what you want. So you will be if you are running at high intensity, you'll be developing the wrong energy system. Okay, so what is low intensity? So low intensity basically means being able to run at a conversational pace, which means you should be able to talk to a friend, like speak one sentence at a time. You should not be able to sing because that will be too slow a pace, but you should be able to speak one sentence. And therefore, this is the meaning of conversational pace. If you want to be more scientific about it, using the heart rate training zone, it should be zone 2, so probably about 65 to 75% of your maximum heart rate. That itself for me will be anywhere between 125 to 135 beats per minute. How I do it is an estimate would be taking 220 minus your age, that would be your maximum heart rate, about there. But I know sometimes it can be quite inaccurate, so I would prefer the top test. So when you first start out doing these low intensity runs, you may realize that you'll need to walk at some point of time, because after running for a short distance you get increasingly more breathless. This is normal. This is known as the cardiac drift. So I mean, if you have to walk to maintain the intensity level. Myself, when I'm going up slope, sometimes I'm not afraid to walk, just to maintain myself in the aerobic training zone. So it requires discipline, and it is really different as compared to what most of us thought exercising should be, going all out, doing at high intensity so as to achieve more out from the workout. For aerobic training, it is otherwise, so low intensity. Next, we'll be talking about mileage. So there needs to be enough mileage for the aerobic system to develop effectively. This means maybe for the first week you are clocking about 20 to 30k in total, but the subsequent week, in order to overload your aerobic system, you should be running 40 kilometers per week, then subsequently increasing again. And you should be increasing your mileage, your weekly mileage, for 3 consecutive weeks before deloading. That means to drop your weekly mileage. A good weekly mileage to hit if you are training for a sprint as a beginner should be about 20 to 30 kilometers for your peak week, which is about 4 weeks out from the race. If you are training for super as a beginner, about 40 to 50 kilometers per week, and training for a beast, probably about 50 to 60 kilometers a week. And another important component when you are training and developing your aerobic system for Spartan Races is also your long runs. So your long run is one single and the most important key workout to develop your aerobic system. The rest are just for developing general aerobic fitness, but the long runs are the ones which will truly get you ready for the race. So if you are training for a sprint, you should be aiming to get in about 8 to 10 kilometers, even 12 as your longest long runs. If you are doing your your super, which is about 14 to 16 kilometers, you should be aiming to get in about 16 to 18 or even 20 as your longest run. And then if you're doing the beast, maybe 21 to 24 kilometers being the longest long run that you should go for. What this will do is not only it will develop your aerobic system, but then it will give you the confidence for yourself to know that you have actually completed this distance before, and then you'll be able to replicate the same thing again on race day. And this will actually be very beneficial, as it removes one key component of the race out of the equation for you to worry about. So let's say if you aren't able to get in the recommended weekly mileage, I would suggest that you at least get in the long runs which I just stated earlier. I feel that those are actually more important for beginners as compared to weekly mileage. So do spend time building up towards these long runs. ideally the building up of mileage should start anywhere from 3 weeks to 6 months out from the Spartan race. It depends on what race you're training for. So let's say if you're training for the Beast and you're a complete beginner, I would recommend taking about half a year to actually build up towards that distance. If you are a seasoned athlete, maybe 3 months will be enough. So it really depends. The important thing is not to get injured during the build-up and be very cautious during the build-up. You don't want to get any form of overuse injuries like knee injuries or maybe some Achilles tendon injury. That's not what we want. So do remember to build up your mileage slowly. A rule of thumb is not to increase the distance more than 5 kilometers at a time for your long runs, and for your weekly mileage not to increase more than 10% of your previous weekly mileage at all times. So that could be a gauge for you. Different people are different, so you got to experiment and see what works best for you. Lastly, we are going to talk about moving closer towards the race. So as we get closer to the race, another key component that we should include in our training to develop your aerobic system is obstacle specific intervals. So I'm quite sure some of you have heard of 400 meters intervals on the track or 1000 meter intervals on the track. To train specifically for the Spartan race, we are going to include this, but then we're going to add in some obstacles in it. So I would recommend adding in some of the weaker obstacles, some of your weaker obstacles, like for example monkey bar or multi-rig. So what you're going to do is you're going to, for beginners, you're just going to run the distance, at your own pace, and then when you reach the obstacle, you're going to try to clear it. Okay, so what this will do is it will put you at a high heart rate, and it will simulate the fatigue that you experience during the race, and it gives you a more accurate experience, a more accurate and realistic experience as to how you'll feel during the race and what you're going to do to clear it. I feel that this will help you better prepare for the race than just learning how to clear the obstacle at low heart rate, because one element which is hard to replicate and train for during the race is actually to clear obstacles under fatigue. So you can try this out. Let's say if you don't have any space to, because of logistical means you don't have any space to run, and then after that clear the obstacles, what you can try to do is you can replace runs with burpees. So maybe do about 20 burpees, and when you are gasping for air, you try to clear the obstacles, and this will actually dramatically increase your ability to clear obstacles on a high heart rate and also fatigue, and therefore increasing your chances at obstacle immunity, increases success of clearing obstacles. So I've come to the end of my first training talk. If you do have any other questions, do leave your questions in the comment section below. If you have any other topic you want me to talk about, discuss about, you can also leave it in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this training talk. If you have any feedback, do let me know as well. And I'm looking forward to the next training talk next week. So see you guys.